The CEO took his mute daughter to the playground and froze when a black single dad made her speak for the first time. The morning was drenched in sunlight. The playground buzzed with children's laughter. Sand crunched under shoes, and the merry-go-round squeaked in rhythm. At the far end of the grassy field, on a swing set near the trees, 7-year-old Emily Hayes sat motionless, fingers gripping the chains, lips pressed tight. For 3 years, ever since the accident, she hadn't spoken a word. On a nearby wooden bench, Olivia Hayes held her phone like a shield. She wasn't scrolling, just using it to avoid the sympathetic glances from other parents. She told herself this was just another ordinary Saturday, but inside she sank under the weight of the same silent loop. A warm, deep laugh made her look up. By the tire swing, a man was pushing a boy about Emily's age. He looked to be in his 30s, wearing a faded navy hoodie and old jeans. He was black, and his laugh felt like sunlight spilling across the grass. When the swing slowed, he noticed Olivia, gave a polite nod, and walked toward Emily with his son. He knelt, lowering himself to Emily's eye level. His voice came soft, just enough to hear, "Hi there." His open palm hovered in front of her, not forcing. A quick glance to Olivia, an unspoken request for permission, then back to Emily. "Mind if we say hello?" Emily didn't move. Olivia started to intervene, ready to protect her daughter from unwanted interaction. But the way he waited, filling the silence with patience instead of words, made her pause. Emily studied that open hand for a long moment, then set her small palm on his. His smile was deep but gentle. "You know," he said quietly, as if sharing a secret, "my son thinks that slide over there is only for the bravest kids, but I think I've met kids even braver than that." He touched a fingertip lightly under her chin, then stopped, letting the moment breathe. The air felt tight, like a string drawn to its limit. And then Emily's lips parted. "How?" The sound was faint but clear enough for Olivia's heartbeat to thunder in her ears. 3 years of silence, broken here, in front of a warm-eyed black man in a faded hoodie. He didn't cheer or call attention to it. He kept his tone steady, low, calm, because brave kids don't have to be the loudest. They just speak up when it really matters. Emily seemed to weigh his words. Her fingers loosened on the swing's chain. "What's your name?" she whispered. "I'm Jack," he said, smiling. "And this is Mason, my son." Mason, hair tousled by the wind, waved shyly. Emily looked from him back to Jack. "I'm Emily," she murmured. Jack's eyes softened. He leaned in just slightly, voice dipping to a conspiratorial tone. "The best slide here isn't the big one. It's the small one behind the sandbox. The sun warms it up so you go faster." Emily's eyebrows lifted. "Want to try it?" Jack asked. She looked at Olivia, who swallowed hard and nodded. "Go ahead, honey." Jack didn't take her hand. He walked beside her, matching her slow pace, letting her choose. Mason ran ahead, pointing toward the slide. Emily followed, each step careful but sure. Olivia stayed seated, listening to the sound of laughter stitching something whole again inside her. Minutes later, they returned. Emily's cheeks were pink, her lips curved faintly upward. She climbed back onto the swing as if reclaiming a familiar spot. Jack leaned toward Olivia, lowering his voice. "She's got a lot she wants to say. She just needs someone to ask the right way." "How did you do that?" Olivia asked, almost a whisper. He shrugged. "Sometimes kindness is the only language that works." The breeze tugged at his hoodie. Olivia knew, instinctively, that this wasn't a stranger she could thank in passing and forget. He had just opened a door she had been pounding on for years. Jack Wait, he stopped. Mason's small hand was wrapped in his, dark eyes curious. A dozen questions crowded Olivia's lips, but she pushed them down. Would you have coffee with us? My treat. It's been 3 years since I heard her speak. Jack's jaw tightened slightly. He glanced at Mason, then back at her. I don't usually do coffee shops, but there's a little place on Oak Street, quiet. Perfect, Olivia said, her voice trembling but sure. I'll follow you. Before leaving the playground, Emily looked up. Can Mason ride in our car? Jack smiled, grounding the moment with a gentle rule. Maybe next time, kiddo. Today we ride together. Emily nodded. Olivia saw something in that, her daughter accepting the weight. A small skill, but the start of many long conversations ahead. The CEO took his mute daughter to the playground and froze. When a black single dad made her speak for the first time. The morning was drenched in sunshine. The playground buzzed with children's laughter, sand crunched under shoes, and the merry-go-round creaked with every turn. At the far end of the grassy field, on a swing beneath the trees, 7-year-old Emily Hayes sat still, fingers gripping the chains, lips pressed tight. It had been 3 years, ever since the accident, since she'd spoken a word. On a nearby wooden bench, Olivia Hayes held her phone like a shield. She wasn't scrolling, just hiding behind it, avoiding the sympathetic glances of other parents. She told herself this was just another Saturday morning, but inside she was sinking under the weight of the silence. A warm, deep laugh made her look up. At the tire swing, a man pushed a boy about Emily's age. He looked to be in his 30s, wearing a faded navy hoodie and worn jeans. He was black, and his laugh felt like sunlight spilling across the grass. When the swing slowed, he noticed Olivia, nodded, and led his son toward Emily. He knelt down to her level. His voice was soft, just enough to hear, "Hi there." He opened his palm in front of her. No pressure. He glanced at Olivia, an unspoken question, before turning back to Emily. Mind if we say hello? Emily didn't move. Olivia was about to step in, ready to protect her daughter, but the way he waited, letting the silence be, made her pause. Emily studied his open hand for a long moment, then set her tiny palm in his. His smile was deep but gentle. You know, he said quietly, like sharing a secret, my son says that slide over there's only for the bravest kids. But I think I've met kids even braver. He tapped lightly under her chin, then stopped, giving her space. The air was tight, like a string pulled taut. Then Emily's lips parted. How? The sound was faint but clear enough to make Olivia's heart pound. 3 years of silence, broken here, in front of a warm-eyed stranger in a hoodie. He didn't cheer or call attention to it. He kept his tone steady. Because brave kids don't need to be the loudest. They just speak when it matters most. Emily seemed to weigh his words. Her grip on the chain loosened. What's your name? She whispered. I'm Jack, he said, smiling. And this is Mason, my son. Mason, his hair tousled from the wind, waved. Emily looked at him, then back at Jack. I'm Emily, she said. Jack's eyes softened. He leaned closer. The best slide here isn't the big one. It's the small one behind the sandbox. The sun warms it up so you go faster. Emily's eyebrows lifted. Want to try it? He asked. She looked at Olivia, who swallowed and nodded. Go on, sweetheart. Jack didn't take her hand. He walked beside her, matching her slow pace, letting her choose. Mason ran ahead, pointing to the slide. Emily followed, each step careful but certain. Olivia stayed seated, listening to their laughter stitching something whole again inside her. Minutes later, they returned. Emily's cheeks were pink, her lips curved faintly upward. She climbed back onto the swing as if reclaiming her place. Jack leaned toward Olivia and said softly, "She has a lot to say. She just needs someone to ask the right way." "How did you do that?" Olivia asked. He shrugged. "Sometimes kindness is the only language that works." The breeze tugged at his hoodie. Olivia knew this wasn't a man she could thank and walk away from. He'd opened a door she'd been knocking on for years. "Jack, wait." He stopped. Mason's small hand was in his, dark eyes curious. A dozen questions crowded Olivia's mind, but she pushed them down. "Would you have coffee with us? My treat. It's been 3 years since I heard her speak." Jack's jaw tightened slightly. He looked at Mason, then back at her. "I don't usually do coffee shops, but there's a little place on Oak Street, quiet." "Perfect," Olivia said, her voice trembling but firm. "I'll follow you." Before leaving, Emily looked up. "Can Mason ride with us?" Jack smiled, steady and gentle. "Maybe next time, kiddo. Today we ride together." Emily nodded. Olivia saw something in that, her daughter accepting the weight. A small step, but the beginning of many conversations to come. 15 minutes later, they met at a diner on Oak Street, the air scented with chocolate pie. Mason slid into the booth across from Emily. The two of them whispered as if they'd known each other for years. The server brought menus. Jack simply said, "Black coffee." His hand rested on the table, calloused, marked with a few scars. When he shifted, his sleeve rode up, revealing a faded hospital wristband. He instinctively tugged it back down, but Olivia caught the detail. "Were you just in the hospital?" she asked, her tone more invitation than interrogation. Jack was silent for a beat, then nodded. "Recently?" Olivia didn't press. She left the space open, watching the two kids share a slice of pie. A moment later, Jack continued on his own. "I just got out of VA rehab about a month ago. I used to be a paramedic. 2 tours in Afghanistan. Last one, our truck hit an IED. My legs took most of it. My best friend didn't make it." "I'm sorry," Olivia said softly, an acknowledgement of loss. Jack nodded, eyes still on his coffee. "Since then, loud noise knocks me sideways. Crowds, sirens, even TV. I moved to the edge of town with Mason. Quieter there. I started volunteering at the park. Not because I could save anyone, but because kids reflect back what I need, safety." At a table near the counter, a couple glanced at his wristband and scars. Olivia could almost feel the invisible wall people put up around a black man. Jack adjusted his breathing. Long, steady, like dropping anchor before a wave hit. "My sister stopped talking when our dad left," Jack said. "Everyone thought she was broken. Truth was, she just stopped trusting. I didn't pull words out of her, I just sat there until she wanted to answer. Kids can feel who's a safe place. That's what you did with Emily," Olivia said. "You didn't force her to talk, you made space for her to." She exhaled slowly. "I've taken her everywhere. Doctors, therapy, specialists. I run a med tech company focused on communication. I've bought every assistive device, but technology can't create psychological safety. This morning, you did. You lowered yourself, opened your hand, touched lightly, then waited. And when she spoke, you didn't make it a big scene. Where's the manual that teaches that?" The server brought another plate of pie. Mason pushed the bigger piece toward Emily. She laughed, and Olivia felt herself relearning how to hope. Watching them, Jack's mouth eased into a smile. "I'm not sure companies would like my resume," he said, half joking, half serious. "They see the gaps, the medical notes, and I'm a black man." Sometimes it feels like the door closes before I even knock." "Then maybe they're not the right people," Olivia replied. "Someday, I'd like to talk about bringing what you did this morning into how we design and train." She knew she'd just stepped past the line between CEO and mother, but the morning had put her on a different path. Connection first, tools second. Jack was quiet. He turned his coffee cup slowly, as if testing the heat of a decision. "You don't owe me anything," he said. "You have a job, a world. I have this kid and mornings at the park. Honestly, they save me more than I save anyone." "Maybe it's both," Olivia said. "You save kids by being a safe place. They save you by giving you a reason." Suddenly, a plate crashed in the kitchen. Olivia flinched. Jack grounded himself first, shoulders dropping, exhale long, eyes finding a calm point on the table. Mason looked up, familiar with the ritual, and gave a small nod. Emily startled, then copied Mason's breathing. The ripple passed. Jack glanced at Olivia, smiling apologetically. "Sorry, loud noises, still working on living with them." "You just taught me something else," Olivia said. "Before you can steady a child, you have to anchor yourself." She wanted to ask more but held back. The storyteller gets to set the pace. As the meal wound down, Emily tugged her mother's sleeve. "Mom, can we go to the park again tomorrow? Ask Mason if he can come." The ease of the request stopped Olivia in her tracks. She looked at Jack. He smiled, warm as the morning sun. "We'll have to check the slide champion's schedule." Mason played along, counting on his fingers. "Tomorrow we're free." Olivia looked at her daughter and saw a light she thought she'd stored away in memory. She turned back to Jack. "Thank you for a new beginning." Jack shook his head. "All I did was sit low and wait." He stood, giving a slight nod. "See you at the park tomorrow." Leaving the diner, the afternoon sun stretched the shadows of 4 people long across the sidewalk. Olivia squeezed Emily's hand. She knew she needed to keep Jack in their family's orbit, but she wasn't in a rush. Things worth having deserved their own pace. Olivia woke to a sound as thin as silk, but lingering like sunlight. Emily humming in her room. Not a full song, just a few awkward notes, then silence, then a few more, like a fledgling testing its wings. Olivia sat on the edge of her bed, holding the moment in invisible hands. For 3 years, mornings had begun with a dense, heavy silence. Today, the silence had a crack in it, and the breeze slipped through. By mid-morning, they arrived at the park. The walk felt shorter than usual. From a distance, Olivia spotted Jack and Mason. Jack leaned his elbows on the wooden railing, left foot angled for balance, while Mason tossed a worn football from hand to skillful hand. Emily didn't wait for her mother's cue. She ran straight ahead. "Mason, throw it to me." The final note lifted with such confidence that Olivia's throat tightened. Mason grinned, gave the ball a light arc. Emily missed the catch, laughed out loud, scooped it up, and threw it back. The pass was wobbly but deliberate, worth more than accuracy itself. Olivia stepped up beside Jack. "You don't know what this means to me," she said, voice trembling but bright. Jack tilted his head, his deep brown eyes carrying the shade of the trees. "I think I do. I've seen the light come back in someone's eyes and in my own." They stood in a quiet beat, letting the children's laughter fill the air between them. Suddenly, on the next lawn over, a balloon popped. A sharp, dry crack that split the air. Emily flinched hard, hands clutching her head, eyes wide, breath stuttering. Olivia moved instinctively, but Jack was already crouched to her level, both palms open in the space between them. No touch, no pressure. "Look at my hands, Em," Jack said slowly, rhythm steady. Breathe in for 4, hold for 2, out for 6. He modeled the breath, shoulders loosening on the long exhale. Mason stood slightly behind her, exaggerating the motion so Emily could see. Inhale, hold, exhale. Good, again, Jack encouraged, gaze steady on hers. The skin around Emily's eyes began to soften. Her shoulders dropped, her chin steadied. You're okay, Jack smiled. You did great. Olivia stopped half a step short, her hand curling, then releasing. She had just witnessed a living safety anchor, regulating physiology, long exhale to activate the parasympathetic, adjusting presence, low voice, slow pacing, avoiding sudden touch and using a peer as model, Mason. No props, no app, just a human being. Emily blinked, scanning as if to confirm the world was intact, then bent to pick up the ball and toss it back to Mason. Clumsy, but determined. Olivia exhaled, her chest opening again. They sat on the bench. Jack offered Emily a water bottle, but set it just out of immediate reach, letting her decide. She took it, sipped, and placed it back exactly where it had been. You were scared just now, Jack said gently. Being scared is normal. What matters is what we do when we're scared. Emily nodded, whispering, I breathed again. Mason snapped his fingers in a playful click, grinning. Exactly right. Olivia looked from the kids to Jack. Jack, I want to ask this as a mother before as a CEO. Can we codify what you just did? Jack raised a brow. Olivia went on. I mean, if I had to teach an engineer or a new therapist, I need a language for it. When to crouch down, when to wait, when to let a peer lead, when to pull back into the calm zone. Jack leaned back, thinking. I'm not an academic, he admitted, but I can name what I do and turn it into steps instead of instinct. Olivia nodded. That's what I need. Frankly, I want to hire you, not charity. Actual work with clear pay and scope. You'd train my team on psychological safety and trauma-sensitive communication. We'll let technology learn from people, not the other way around. A breeze puffed Jack's hoodie. He looked down at his calloused hands, then over at Mason, who was showing Emily how to place her fingers on the football's seams for a straighter throw. I don't want to be anybody's poster, Jack said quietly. Don't bring me in so you can say, we have a black veteran, and leave it at that. Olivia met the concern head on. I understand. I'm not looking for a symbol. I need someone who does the work. You'd have the authority to turn down anything that goes against your philosophy, and I'll put my own name on this program. Jack stayed silent. A silence like the held breath before entering an OR, not from fear, but from calculation. He lifted his gaze. If I agree, I want to start slow, practice first, then write it down, and... A small smile flickered in his eyes to cut the tension. When I get my first paycheck, coffee's on me. I'm not letting you keep picking up the tab. Olivia laughed, a thin but genuine sound, like the first sheet of paper after a long, dry spell. Deal. She offered her hand. Jack didn't take it right away. He glanced toward Emily, now stepping back 3 paces for another throw, before extending his own. The handshake was firm enough, neither showy nor timid. Evening settled in, birds calling each other home. Emily ran over, cheeks flushed pink. Mom, I can throw straighter now. Olivia bent to touch foreheads with her. I saw. Emily turned to Jack. Are you coming again tomorrow? Jack glanced at Mason. If the Slide Champions team approves. Mason high-fived Emily, their palms tapping lightly like a punctuation mark to end the practice. On the drive home, Olivia drove slower than usual. In the passenger seat, Emily hummed the same tune as that morning, but with a few new notes. An answer, perhaps, to yesterday's question, what is bravery? At a red light, Olivia looked up at the violet-streaked sky. In her mind, training modules lined up in sequence. Crouch, open hands, wait, breathe 4-2-6, peer modeling, retreat to calm zone. She knew tomorrow would be a different kind of day, one where people came before technology, so technology could learn how to be more human. On Monday, Olivia brought Jack to headquarters. She bypassed the noisy glass conference rooms, choosing instead a small lab with sound-dampened walls, warm lighting, and fabric-covered chairs. At reception, the front desk clerk asked to scan his badge. Jack handed it over. The scanner beeped slowly. The clerk smiled politely and asked to scan again. 2 employees walking in behind them got a quick beep and a nod. Jack said nothing, just exhaled slowly and moved on. Olivia noticed, but decided to let actions speak louder than explanations. In the lab, the core team was waiting. Ethan Brooks, systems engineer, Claire Morgan, product PM, Dr. Laura Patel, speech therapist, and a few younger engineers. Ethan opened bluntly, "We want to understand your framework. I need something repeatable and measurable." Jack nodded, picked up a marker, and wrote 4 big letters on the whiteboard. S-A-F-E. S-C, he began. Observe before you speak. When you walk into a room, don't rush into questions. Notice if the shoulders are tense, hands clenched, where the eyes go, who the child stands near. Ask, he continued. Ask open questions, ones that allow for no answer. Would you like to is different from do this. Acknowledge their right to say no. F, follow. Don't pull their hand. Walk alongside. Let the child set the pace, the direction, the moment to switch activities. E, empower. Recognize small wins. Don't turn speaking again into a stage performance. Let the child own their victory. Claire scribbled notes. Can we codify the signals for ready? She asked. Jack wrote under the S. Shoulders lowered, long exhale, steadier gaze, less darting, hands unclenched, body leaning forward half a step. He explained, if you don't see at least 2 of these signs, don't move on to verbal prompts. Dr. Patel asked, what about when there's a sudden trigger? Jack sketched a quick scenario. Balloon pops. 1, drop to their eye level. 2, model the 4-2-6 breath with a longer exhale. 3, give them a focal point. Look at my hands or count hats in the room. 4, cue a peer to model. 5, once the rhythm is back, suggest a simple activity shift. He paused. Often, stopping is the best intervention. Ethan still frowned. I'm hearing all instinct. Where are the metrics? Jack smiled, not defensive. Measure what you can. In service of what you need to protect. He wrote, time to stability. From trigger to lowered shoulders, steady breath. Number of times the child initiates communication. Eye contact, nods, gestures, words. Number of breakthrough moments per session, verbal or nonverbal. Ratio of interventions delayed rather than pushed, making not acting a professional choice. These numbers aren't to push kids to talk more, Jack said. They help us know when to ease off, when to wait. Olivia looked around. A few subtle nods appeared. She added, the tech team can add heart rate sensors and wrist accelerometers, but we'll use that data to reduce stimuli, lower volume, adjust lighting, not to force pace. Ethan typed into his laptop. Supportive data, no verbal output targets. For practice, Dr. Patel suggested a simulation. Nora, a little girl from the trial group, would visit the lab that afternoon. Before she arrived, Jack had the whole room sit through 30 seconds of silence. He started the timer. 10 seconds in, some engineers glanced at each other. 20 seconds, a few shifted in their seats. At 30, the timer chimed. "That's the waiting rhythm," Jack said. "If 30 seconds makes you uncomfortable, imagine how 3 seconds feels to a child when we fill it with commands." Nora arrived with her mother, standing close, eyes on her shoes. Jack crouched low, palms open. "I'm Jack. Do you want to sit near Mason?" Mason had been invited as a peer model for the session. Nora didn't answer but took half a step forward. Jack didn't push. He slowed his own breathing. Nora's mother shot him a pleading look. Jack gave her a small nod, as if to say, "We have time." A clack from the printer startled Nora. She recoiled. Jack brought his hands into her line of sight. No touch. "Look at my hands. Inhale 4, hold 2, exhale 6. Mason followed, deliberately exaggerating his movements so Nora could copy. Her shoulders lowered. "Good job," Jack said softly. "Want to see the mini slide in the next room? The lights there are warmer." Nora glanced at Mason. Mason nodded. "Warm slides go faster." The line he'd once used with Emily now served as a safety cue. Nora gave a tiny nod. The group moved alongside her. No one took her hand. Ethan murmured to Claire, "I get it now. The steps can be written into a process." Claire replied, "A process that preserves dignity." After the session, in the hall, Olivia caught a skeptical look from a mid-level manager. He said quietly, "His resume's got gaps. I'm concerned about stability." Olivia didn't sidestep. "I'll sponsor the initial phase. Jack is our psychological safety coach. All trial deployments go through me." She set her own credibility down like an anchor. Back in the lab, Jack packed up the markers. "Thanks for today," he said. "I know in a place like this, it's not just about the tech, it's about the doors." Olivia replied, "If a door's closed, we redefine the entrance, with the quality of the work." Jack smiled, tired but lit from within. "All right, tomorrow I'll draft SAFE version 0.1, step names, observable signs, open-ended language, but I want to keep one rule. Never turn a child into a test." "That's a company rule too," Olivia said. That afternoon, Mason and Emily waited in the lobby. When Jack came out, Mason ran up. "Dad, I got to be the peer model today." Jack ruffled his hair, smiling. Emily told Olivia, clearly, Nora went down the warm slide. Olivia smiled. "And you?" Emily shrugged, whispering, "I slid, in my mind." The child's phrasing was so subtle Olivia had to turn away for a second to hide her tears. On the way home, Jack stopped at a small corner cafe. "Not my first paycheck yet," he said, lifting a paper cup, "but let me buy a coffee as a down payment on my promise." Olivia raised her cup, clinking lightly. She knew one thing. From today on, SAFE wasn't just 4 letters on a board. It was a commitment that here, SAFE wasn't an accessory, but the foundation for everything else. The Rainbow Center sat on a tree-lined street, its glass doors decorated with colorful cloud decals. Olivia, Jack, Mason, and a small group from the company had come to observe a real-world intervention session. The hallway carried a faint scent of floor cleaner. At reception, the clerk scanned everyone's visitor passes, pausing a beat longer when Jack's pass took extra time to register. He smiled, exhaled slowly, said nothing. Olivia noted it, but decided to let the quality of his work be the final answer. The first case was Ava, 6 years old, hair tied high, sensitive to noise. The playroom glowed with warm yellow light, and in the corner, fabric draped into a tent held a cluster of paper stars. Ethan, the systems engineer, had brought a set of wrist sensors and a heart rate strap. "We'll have real-time data," he said enthusiastically. Jack looked to Ava's mother. Will she agree to wear anything on her body? The mother hesitated. She can't tolerate anything tight, especially around her chest. Ethan shrugged. Just a few minutes. Jack shook his head. See, I'm seeing shoulders lift, hands clench at the mention of wearing. We shouldn't push yet. They began without censors, just observing. Mason sat a short distance from Ava, stacking blocks, not inviting her to join. Jack crouched to Ava's level, palms open, using ask in an open way. Would you like to sit closer to me or closer to Mason? Ava didn't answer but stepped half a pace toward Mason. Jack moved to F. Follow. All right, I'll sit here and go at your pace. Things were calm until a low, droning sound rolled in from the hallway, a vacuum cleaner, buzzing like a metallic bee. Ava flinched. Hands over ears, frozen. Ethan bent to grab the strap. Let me attach it now. Measure her reaction. Jack lifted a hand slightly to stop him, voice low. Pause. When a child is overloaded, adding equipment is just adding stimulation. He turned to Ava. Look at my hands. He modeled the 4-2-6 breath. Mason, as a peer, followed along. Inhale, hold, exhale, making the motions big enough for Ava to see. Let's head to the warm corner, Jack suggested, walking alongside but not touching. Ava shook her head quickly. He switched tactics. Then, under this fabric table, it's quieter. Ava gave the tiniest nod. They ducked under the tent. The light dimmed, the vacuum noise faded. Jack placed 2 smooth stones in front of her. Name 2 colors you see, Ava pointed. Green, yellow. Name 2 sounds. She whispered, machine, breathing. Take 1 long breath. Her shoulders dropped. Jack moved to E, empower. Good job, you chose your quiet spot. That's brave. The vacuum stopped. Ava slowly crawled out of the tent and sat beside Mason. He handed her a single block, not the whole set, to keep things simple. She placed it next to another, eyes tracking the straight line. Ava's mother looked astonished. I've never seen her stay after a noise that fast. Ethan still held the strap, unsure. Jack turned to him. There's a place for data, but in the first minutes, data makes room for safety. Once Ava's steady, if she... He looked to Ava for permission. Wants to try the wristband for finer tracking, we'll ask. Ava eyed the soft band, lips pressing together. Jack didn't push. You don't have to if you don't want to. 5 minutes later, Ava offered her wrist, touched the band, hesitated, then nodded. Ethan was eager, but Jack signaled to go slow. Let her put it on herself. That made the sensor a choice, not a command. Once active, the display on the tablet showed her heart rate dropping from 18 to 96 in 3 minutes. Wrist movement less jerky. Ethan pointed at the screen, surprised. Longer exhale correlates with heart rate drop. Jack nodded. Use data to confirm what we see with our eyes. Don't use it to force verbal targets. The next case was Leo, 5, who loved trucks but hated flashing lights. While Leo looked at a picture book of construction vehicles, a staff member switched on a toy with a blinking light. Leo flung the book and crawled under the table. A young therapist panicked. Pull him out so we can keep to the script. Jack shook his head. Stopping is an intervention. He lay down on the floor parallel to Leo, half an arm's length away, speaking softly. I'm here. Do you want me to turn the light off or leave it on? A long pause. Leo's voice was dry as sand. Off. Jack extended his hand out of Leo's sight line, signaling for the staff to switch it off. He didn't touch Leo, just tapped his fingers gently on the floor. Hear 2 sounds, then take 1 breath. Leo glanced up, brief contact, then rested his head on his arm. His shoulders dropped half an inch. From the corner of the room, Olivia observed, taking notes as SAFE ran smooth as a rehearsed piece, yet flexible like jazz, never rigid, always following the child's cues. She could see clearly where technology should stand, to help reduce stimuli, to record breakthroughs, not to lead the experience. After the session, Leo's mother said, "I always feared him under the table. I never imagined that could be a safe starting point." Jack replied, "Many trees grow from the shade." On the way out, the janitor pushed the vacuum past them, glancing at Jack as if to apologize. Jack smiled, nodded. "You gave the kids a real exercise today." The man laughed, his shoulders easing. Small bridges like that linked departments, and quietly bridged unspoken prejudices. The 10th floor conference room looked out over the skyline. On the screen, Claire presented the pilot metrics. Time to stabilization, down 32% after 4 sessions. Breakthrough moments per session, up 1.7x. And the newly defined intervention delay ratio, showing staff's professional judgment improving. Board member Victor Hale, head of finance, leaned back. "Nice, but where's the ROI? How long until it turns into revenue?" Olivia stayed calm. Phase 1 is competency. Phase 2, we integrate SAFE into the software, prompting wait times, overload alerts, a dashboard tracking breakthroughs. The sales value comes from the outcomes. Victor tapped his pen. "I want numbers." At the far end of the table, Jack sat quietly. He knew this room spoke in columns and rows. Olivia advanced the slide. Case Ava, after 3 sessions, she chose to wear a sensor herself. Recovery time from trigger dropped from 540 to 252. Case Leo, number of times he left under the table to participate rose from 0 to 3 per session. Victor arched a brow. "So, we're selling leaving the table?" Olivia didn't flinch. "We're selling the capacity to participate, the key to sustainable speech. Without it, every device is just a microphone for silence." For the live demo, Mia, 4, came in with her mother. Mia loved soap bubbles but hated the smell of sanitizer. A new staffer accidentally sprayed sanitizer on a cloth nearby. Mia grimaced, tossed her toy, backed away. Jack dropped low, hands open, voice soft. But this time, he misjudged the weight of the smell. He cued, "Look at my hands. Breathe 426, while the air was still saturated. Mia bolted to the corner, crying. Jack realized the error. He had intervened before removing the root stimulus. He stopped talking, signaled to open the door, switched on a fan, and walked Mia into a quieter hallway. To her mother, he said, "I got the order wrong. First, change the environment." 5 minutes later, Mia's sobs eased. Mason came in, blowing soap bubbles in the hallway where the breeze carried the smell away. Mia watched, hands unclenching. Jack didn't invite her to play. He blew one bubble and let it burst in midair. No touch, no push. On the third bubble, Mia stepped forward. "Do you want to blow one?" Open-ended. She nodded, blew gently, giggled when it popped softly. The re-entry was successful, but the stumble had happened in full view of the board. Victor folded his arms. In the real world, mistakes like that can burn budget. Jack lifted his head, voice low but steady. "This mistake is worth it. It teaches us to add an R to SAFE, remove, reduce stimuli, handle the root cause before anything else. Order is now RSAFE, and in the software make stop a clear button. When the environment isn't safe, the system flags to pause all prompts." A beat of silence. Olivia seized the moment. "This is why my name's on the program." Without a culture of learning from mistakes, we have no reliable product. My proposal: 1. Add R to the framework. 2. Update the app with environmental indicators: sound, smell, light. 3. Field staff, right to stop, rewarded for pausing at the right time. 4. Report ROI via participation and recovery time, not just word counts. Victor looked at the numbers Claire's slide projected. Downward slope for recovery time, upward slope for active participation. I want a timeline. Olivia answered immediately. 12-week pilot at 3 sites. If metrics don't improve 20%, I'll take responsibility before the board. If they meet or exceed, we scale and go to market with the message, technology learns from people. After the meeting, Jack sat alone on the fire escape steps, watching the street. Olivia came with a glass of water. You owned a mistake in front of the room, she said. Not many do that. Jack shrugged. In the field, admitting a mistake at the right time saves lives. Here, it saved a child from the smell of alcohol. He exhaled. I hate that I made Mia cry. Olivia shook her head. You got her out of the smell, gave her a breath, gave her choice back. And now we have RSAFE. That's progress born from a stumble. Ethan appeared with a tablet. Jack, look at this. When the door opened and the fan ran, the VOC sensor dropped. Mia's heart rate fell within 38 seconds. Exhale lengthened clearly. Data backs, remove reduce first. Jack smiled faintly. Good. Then we design the stop button big. Ethan scratched his head. And, sorry about the strap thing this morning. I get too eager for numbers. Jack offered his hand. I get too eager for people. Almost forgot the fan. By day's end, Olivia sent a company-wide email. As of today, RSAFE is the new standard. Remove, reduce stimuli. See, ask, follow, empower. Success metrics, participation, recovery time, breakthrough moments, intervention delay ratio. The right to stop is a skill, not a failure. At the end, she added, thanks to Jack Carter for reminding us, bravery is speaking when needed, and staying silent when it matters more. That night, Mason went to bed early. Jack sat at the kitchen table, writing in his notebook. Today, smell came before words. Remember the order. He removed the faded hospital wristband and placed it in a small wooden box, not because the past no longer mattered, but because his new voice, the one teaching others to stay with a child, was now strong enough to keep him here in the present. Sunday morning, the park was as peaceful as ever. Olivia walked hand in hand with Emily, her heartbeat settling into the rhythm of leaves stirring in the breeze. Jack and Mason had arrived early. Ready, slide champion, Jack teased, his smile carrying a reminder of the morning's past. Emily nodded eagerly, eyes bright. They warmed up with a few easy ball tosses. Everything was smooth until a birthday party suddenly poured in. Balloons, a polka dot tablecloth, and, shattering the calm, a Bluetooth speaker blasting upbeat music. The bass thumped heavy enough to press against the chest. Olivia saw Emily's shoulders tense in a single beat. Her eyelids lowered, fingers twined tight. Olivia started to say, it's okay, by reflex, but caught herself, RSAFE. Jack brushed her elbow lightly, a signal, remove, reduce first. He lowered his voice, crouching to Emily's level. It's loud here, want to head to a calm spot? He didn't take her hand, just shifted his body to create a path. Mason led the way to a big old tree by the picnic shelter, where the shade was thick and the breeze spread evenly. The whole group left the loud zone in deliberate silence. In the shade, Jack pulled a small warm water bottle from his backpack, setting it down just within reach. Want a sip? Emily didn't grab it right away. She looked at it, inhaled, then nodded. Jack moved to see, observing. Her shoulders had begun to lower, her eyes darted less. He spoke softly. "Two things, you see." Emily glanced around. Leaves and sand. Two sounds you hear. Wind and, far away, laughing. One long breath. Emily exhaled, much longer this time. The tension at her jaw eased. Behind her, Olivia found herself breathing along without realizing. Out on the grass, "Happy Birthday" rose in chorus, followed by a burst of clapping. A mom from the party turned, speaking in a tone that pretended to be casual but was loud enough to hear. "It's a public park. Kids have to learn to handle noise." Olivia's chest tightened. The words poked an old wound from the past 3 years. Jack kept his voice low, turning fully toward the woman. "We'll stay over here, 10 minutes, then we'll move. If you can, lowering the volume a notch would be appreciated by the kids here. Ask, open request, not confrontation." The woman shrugged, turned the speaker down a notch, and walked away. The conflict passed like a quick gust. Olivia was struck by how Jack defended boundaries without raising his voice. When Emily's breathing steadied, Jack moved to follow, matching her pace. "What do you want to do next?" Emily looked toward the familiar sun-warmed slide behind the sandbox. "Slide," she said. They took a curved route to avoid the speaker. At the top, Emily suddenly froze. Below, a little boy darted past, brushing her leg. Olivia held her breath, waiting for tears. But Emily dropped into a seated squat, let herself slide down on her back, arms protecting her head. A deliberate fall, choosing how to go down before being thrown off balance. She landed in the sand, dust puffing up, but no tears. Jack stayed one step back, not rushing to scoop her up. "You chose how to fall." "That's excellent," he said, eyes full of recognition. "Want to try again or rest?" Emily brushed off the sand and looked up. Again. The second time, she slid upright, then, halfway down, shifted to lying back, slowed herself, and sat up before hitting the ground, managing the fall on her own terms. Olivia bit her lip, smiling through welling tears at a lesson she'd never thought she needed. Control isn't avoiding the fall. It's knowing how to fall safely. In the distance, the speaker still played, but now with softer music. Mason ran over, holding out his palm. "High five, champ." Emily smacked his hand, then whispered just for Jack and Olivia. "I'm still scared, a little." Jack nodded. "Fear doesn't vanish right away, but you just proved it doesn't control you." Empower, acknowledging the effort, not just the outcome. They rested on a wooden bench. Olivia handed Emily a soft hair clip to keep her hair out of her face, murmuring, "I saw you make great choices today." She turned to Jack. "I almost said it's okay earlier. Thanks for reminding me to remove cash reduce first." Jack grinned. "I have to remind myself too. Some days I start breathing before I've turned off the smell." Both laughed, remembering the sanitizer incident with Mia. An elderly man passing by had seen Emily slide on her back and paused to chat. "Back in my day, we'd practice rolling in the grass before we practiced the high jump. You have to know how to fall before you dare to fly." He smiled warmly and walked on. The words lingered like a penciled margin note in a favorite book. When the birthday group packed up and the speaker went silent, the park settled again. Olivia took Emily for a walk around the small lake. Emily spoke in halting bursts about the base like a big buffalo, and the slide warm like bread. Each image a thread stitching brain and heart together. Olivia didn't correct her, just nodded and hummed in the right places, letting the story belong to Emily. Back at the bench, Jack handed Olivia a folded sheet of paper. Quiet zone list for families. Draft I wrote last night. On it were simple items: warm water, soft cloth, a pre-scouted shady spot, the 2-2-1 game, a 2 things seen, 2 heard, 1 long breath, a clear exit path, and 1 line at the bottom. The right to stop belongs to the child. Olivia smiled at the last line. We should put this in the app as a pre-intervention checklist. By midday, the sun was high. Emily leaned into her mother's shoulder. Can we practice safe falling again tomorrow? Olivia kissed her hair. We can, but I think tomorrow you'll want to try flying. Emily giggled softly. Across the bench, Mason was retying Jack's shoelace for him, casually, as if they were taking turns looking after each other. Jack looked at his son, eyes warm. One midweek afternoon, the sky was veiled with thin clouds. Jack texted Olivia, I'm stopping by the memorial at Maple, the one with the wall of our town's service members' names. If you're free, I'd like a reliable witness. Olivia sent Emily over to the neighbors to play with Mason, then drove out to meet him. The memorial was small, gray stone, with Marcus Reed, Jack's friend, etched among the other names. Jack carried an old combat medic team patch and an envelope. He no longer wore the hospital wristband. That lay in a wooden box at home, but its memory still pressed against his chest like an invisible hand. There's an old habit from my unit, Jack said, eyes fixed on the carved name. When you can't speak, you write. He opened the envelope, pulling out a creased sheet. I write to Marcus once a year. This year, I'm late. I was afraid that if I let myself get better, I'd forget him. Olivia stood at a respectful angle behind him. Jack, she said quietly, remembering doesn't have to mean staying stuck. Jack nodded, reading softly. Marcus, today I taught a little girl to breathe before the noise hit. I also taught myself to breathe when the cafe door dropped a plate. I've got a job now, not officially long-term, but it matters. I'm afraid this joy is betraying you, but I think you'd say, brother, live well. His voice caught on the word matters. He sank onto the stone step, placing the patch at the wall's edge. His hand trembled, slightly, but enough to see. Olivia C. observed, raised shoulders, damp eyes, fingers gripping the paper. She asked, open, without pressure. Want me to sit with you, or give you space? Jack glanced over just briefly. Sit, be quiet with me. She followed, sat beside him, didn't touch, eyes resting on a dry leaf on the ground, a grounding point for herself. Silence stretched, not empty but full of breath. A medevac helicopter droned far overhead. The low hum rolled through the clouds. Jack planted his feet solidly, hands on knees, eyes fixed on the carved name. 3 anchor points he taught others, now using himself. He exhaled long. Tears fell safely, not breaking into a wave, but streaming like raindrops beating down stone steps. I've tried not to cry in front of people, Jack said hoarsely. In the field, tears blur vision. Here, maybe they make something else clearer. Olivia nodded. At the company, I want to add a module. Safe crying for parents and staff. Not to cry more, but to allow the body to do what it needs, without shame, without passing fear to a child. Jack smiled through the tears. Call it soothe, name, normalize next, yeah? He sketched in the air. Soothe, self-anchor. Plant feet, place hands, fix eyes. Name, label the feeling. I'm sad, hurt, missing. Normalize. It's normal to feel this now. Next, choose a small next step. Sip warm water, step into shade. Call someone you trust. We'll write it, Olivia said, and add a pause button in the app for adults, a 60-second self-anchoring guide. Jack nodded. So kids see adults know how to stop and breathe too. From his pocket, he pulled 2 colored sheets, drawings Emily and Mason had made for Mr. Marcus, 2 smiling stick figures and a heart, the edges decorated with star stickers. The kids asked me to bring these, Jack said, half laughing, half sighing. He placed them beside the patch, weighing them down with a small stone. A ritual linking generations, from a past battlefield to a present-day playground, closed the loop. Jack, Olivia asked after a pause, what do you fear most? Jack looked down at his hands. I'm afraid of being forgotten, but also of being frozen forever as the broken vet. I want to be Mason's dad, Emily's teacher, a trusted colleague. I want to be seen for what I do today. Olivia replied, I'll make sure the workplace sees you that way. Not as a special case, but as a special skill set. The wind rose, carrying the scent of pine resin. Jack stood, resting his fingertips on Marcus's name for a moment. Thanks for staying with me, he said to Olivia. Doing nothing, but still, doing so much. Olivia smiled. That's the waiting rhythm for adults. On their way out, they stopped at a small cafe. Jack ordered a black coffee. Olivia, hot tea. I remember what you said that first day. Bravery is speaking when it's needed, Olivia recalled. Today, I want to add, bravery is crying when it's needed. So tomorrow you're light enough to speak again. Jack nodded, his eyes dry now. Tomorrow, I'll teach the parent group soothe name normalize next, and I'll teach myself again. By dusk, they returned to pick up the kids. Mason proudly showed another drawing. I made the warm slide for Mr. Marcus. Emily added, so he can slide safe, then fly. Jack laughed, tapping their hands in a soft high five. In that moment, an invisible line connected it all, from a name etched in stone to the sound of children's laughter, from the heavy past to a lighter present. Late in the afternoon, the glass-walled conference room on the upper floor caught the day's last stripe of sunlight across the wooden table. On the projector was the 12-week pilot roadmap for the RSAFE framework, remove, reduce, see, ask, follow, empower, and the Soothe Name Normalize Next module for adults. Olivia stood across from Victor Hale, CFO, Sabrina Whitfield, board chair, and Diane Cruz, communications. Jack sat at the far end of the table, back straight, steady. Victor tapped his pen. I see participation and recovery time are improving. But where's the revenue? We can't sell feelings. Olivia didn't flinch. We sell the ability to participate, the prerequisite for any language intervention. Without it, every device is just a microphone for silence. The same line that had stilled the room in a previous meeting landed again, this time paired with charts. The recovery time curve sloping down, the breakthrough moment curve sloping up. Sabrina laced her fingers. Good, but the market wants a story. Diane? Diane smiled. If we tell the story from battlefield to playground, a black combat medic helping children find their voices, PR will explode. Jack's image on a poster, bold headline. Boost recognition, drive orders. The air shifted. Jack looked at Olivia. Not angry, just resigned to what he'd already guessed, being seen as a symbol. Olivia lifted her chin. I object to using a person to decorate a product. We'll have a mission page about the method, but not use Jack's face as bait. Effective immediately. Our inclusion charter will state, no using an individual's face or personal story in promotion if the primary aim is emotional appeal, not method value. If we need imagery, use an open hand, a patch of shade, a warm water bottle, a stop button, things anyone can do. Diane frowned. You're passing up an opportunity. Olivia answered evenly, I'm avoiding a trap. Victor crossed his arms. Say, I agree. I want milestones. After 12 weeks, how much will customer retention rise? How much will support costs drop? Claire, PM, advance the slide. Small-scale trials show average support time down 21%, parent session retention up 28% with the Quiet Zone checklist. Target for 12 weeks, 20% in both. If met, we expand. Sabrina nodded. Fine, but I want a personal commitment. Olivia, I'll sponsor the rollout. Failure, my responsibility. Success, the team shares it. The tension eased. Sabrina turned to Jack. Anything you want to say, Carter? Jack clasped his hands. Gaze direct. I don't want to be a poster. I want to be a colleague. I'll sign if the company puts the inclusion charter into policy. Before comms, before revenue. Sabrina considered, then nodded. Put it in the record. 2 hours later, the all-hands workshop filled the auditorium. Nearly 200 people in folding chairs, name tags on their chests. Jack began with 30 seconds of silence, the countdown ticking on the screen. 10 seconds. Chairs creaked. 20. A light cough. 30. A faint chime. This is the waiting rhythm, Jack said. If we can't handle this space, how can a child? He moved into soothe name, normalize next, modeling with his own story. Plant feet, place hands, set eyes. I'm remembering. Name. It's normal to remember when standing before a name carved in stone. Normalize. I'm going to take a sip of water and text someone I trust. Next. The room was quiet, not awkward. He wasn't performing, he was living what he taught. For practice, Jack called for a volunteer. Jordan Lee, a back-end engineer known for skepticism, stood, smiling awkwardly. I don't do touchy-feely stuff well. Jack asked, Do you want me close or with distance? Jordan blinked at the unexpected question. Distance? Jack nodded, stepping back half a pace. Any sound or smell that tenses you up? Jordan gave a short laugh. Slamming doors because of my house growing up. The words came out lightly, but Jordan froze right after. The room went still. Jack C., shoulders up, hands gripping his shirt hem. He lowered his voice. Let's try one round of soothe. Feet down, feel the floor, hands on your thighs, eyes on a calm point on the floor. Then name. Jordan swallowed. I'm anxious. Jack. Normalize. Anxious is normal when remembering the past. Next. One small step. Jordan exhaled. Breathe, 426. A few drops fell onto his shoes. Jordan's voice was quiet. My little brother didn't speak for 2 years after our parents divorced. I used to yell at him to talk. His voice broke. Jack didn't move closer, only said, We're safe crying right now. The whole room is with you. In the front row, people gave each other a small shoulder tap. No one touched Jordan. When his breathing steadied, Jordan looked up, eyes wet but softened. I want to learn RSNAFE, so I don't yell into the void anymore. Applause followed. Not loud, but warm. Afterward, Diane from Communications approached Jack. I apologize for the poster idea. I wanted a story, but I forgot about dignity. Jack smiled. We're both learning. Diane held up a new mock-up. No face, just an open hand beside a large stop button. The words, Start with safety. Olivia passed by, nodding. Right direction. As people filed out, Sabrina called Olivia aside. You just won a culture battle, but the commercial battle is still ahead. Olivia replied, I know. That's why I've put my name on it, twice. Sabrina smiled. Good, then hold the line. On a Saturday morning, the park displayed a fabric banner. Safe Corner, RSAFE for families. No big stage, no loudspeakers. Just a few white canopies set near tree trunks, a shaded area, a warm water table, a box of smooth stones, noise-canceling headphones, and a small slide placed exactly where the sunlight angled in. Volunteers handed out pre-intervention checklists: remove, reduce, see, ask, follow, empower. The company's app had just been updated with a stop button and a 60-second self-anchoring guide. Olivia didn't give a long speech. She simply said, "Today we experience first, talk later." Jack stood beside her, in a simple hoodie, a small line under his name tag, Jack Carter, psychological safety coach. Many parents approached, not to ask for photos, but to ask, when the coffee grinder blasts, what do I do? When the smell of disinfectant hits, what do I do? Jack answered in small steps. Step into the shade, take a sip of warm water, name 2 things you see, 2 things you hear, take 1 breath. Ask your child, do you want to be closer or farther? In the warm tent, Emily and Mason were invited to be the peer group for other kids. Emily guided a little boy on how to place his hands on a ball to throw straighter, her voice clear enough to astonish. Olivia watched from a distance, her heart light yet trembling. She knew public moments often made Emily retreat, but today the environment had been designed to be gentle. No microphones, no flashing lights, no pressure to sit close. When it was time for the important sentence, each family wrote 1 short thing they wanted to say, and, if they wished, read it inside a small tent with no audience, just a volunteer at eye level. Emily held her paper and looked at her mother. Olivia didn't push. She simply asked, "Do you want me close or waiting outside?" "Close," Emily said. They went in. The volunteer sat low, hands open. Emily looked at her paper, just 1 line. "I'm Emily. I like the warm slide." She breathed 4-2-6, then read, clear, delicate, but steady. No applause, just smiles and nods. Emily grinned, eyes bright as sun through leaves. In the next tent, a father cried when his daughter softly said, "I'm scared of the hospital smell." A volunteer walked him through a sooth-name normalized next. The phrase "safe crying" came up several times that morning, not as a performance but as a new community habit, allowing the body to do what it needs so tomorrow it's light enough to speak again. Near noon, Victor Hale appeared unexpectedly, with Sabrina at his side. They stood quietly at the tent's edge, watching a group of parents use the stop button on the app to end a prompt, guide their children into the shade, then return, completing a full participation loop. Victor glanced at a live chart on the small coordination desk screen. Median recovery time, 2 minutes 31 seconds. Activity completion rate after pause, 76%. He nodded, his gaze softening. Sabrina murmured, "That's the ROI of dignity." At the pie stand, Jack set out his old medic patch and the 2 drawings Emily and Mason had sent to Marcus the other day. Beside them was a note. If you have someone to remember, you can write 1 line, then self-anchor before folding it away. A mother wrote, "For Grandma, I brought her grandchild to the warm slide." She placed the paper in the box, resting her hand on the lid, a small ritual to close the moment. As the sun dipped, Mason tugged Jack's arm. "First paycheck coffee time." Jack laughed and walked to the mobile cafe. He pulled out his card, paying for 2 coffees and 1 hot tea. "The promised treat from day 1, he said, handing Olivia a cup. Olivia raised hers. "I have a promise, too. A 2-year contract for you as head of human safety and communication training. Full-time, with a dedicated budget for RSAFE and safe crying rollout. Guaranteed condition. No use of personal portraits for PR unless tied directly to method value. You agree, I sign now." Jack paused for a few seconds. He looked at Mason, smiling with Emily near the slide. At the white tents, the shade, the warm water table. At the stop button glowing on the app. "I agree," he said, "with one more condition. Every training material credits the families, because they're the ones teaching us the most." Olivia nodded and offered her hand. The handshake was firm like that first day at the playground, but longer, because the future was in it now. Before packing up, Emily tugged Jack's sleeve. "I have a speak when needed for you." Jack knelt to eye level. Emily whispered, "When I'm scared, I fall safe. When I'm okay, I fly." Jack smiled, his eyes lit with a kind of light he'd learned not to spill. "I learned from you," he said. "When I'm scared, I stop and breathe. When I'm okay, I help someone else fly." The sun set slowly. The tents folded away. The safe corner banner rolled up, but the habits remained. Shade chosen with care. Warm water always ready. The stop button within reach. The waiting rhythm a shared language. At the edge of the grass, the warm slide still caught a strip of gold. Emily slid down, upright, then lying back, then upright again before touching the ground. A seamless chain of choices. Mason high-fived her. Olivia looked at Jack. Jack looked at Olivia. No one said the end, because they knew. Healing isn't a full stop, it's an ellipsis, where bravery speaks when needed, stays silent when needed, cries when needed, and flies when ready. The story closes, but the journey of Jack, Olivia, Emily, and Mason continues, where bravery isn't just speaking when needed, but also knowing when to stop, when to cry, and when to fly. And you, what do you think is the biggest lesson from this story about how we can create a safe corner for others in daily life? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, share with your friends, and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss the next heartfelt story.